You remember that time Pepsi caused a riot in the Philippines that unalived 5 people? Because I do. Now the story starts with this woman. Her name's Marilee. And Marilee's 23 when this all starts, living in the Philippines, and she is struggling. Like, she lives in a wooden shack by the train tracks with her husband and 4 kids, and all she wants is a better life for her family. And one day in 1992, that better life is suddenly within reach. Because Pepsi, the soda company, has started this contest where one person in the Philippines will have the opportunity to win 1,000,000 pesos, which is a life-changing amount of money in the Philippines during this time. Now, the contest is called Number Fever, and you buy a Pepsi and you hope that the winning number is under the bottle cap. And so they run these commercials all over the country to get the word out so that everyone there will start buying Pepsi. And it works. They do start buying it. In fact, the company's sales skyrocket by almost 40%. So they're making tons of money off this. Now, Marilee, like I said, she's going through hard times. She's unemployed. Her family's money is running real low. Regardless, they decide that this contest is worth it. And her husband spends the last of their money on some Pepsis, hoping that they win the 1,000,000 pesos. And so finally, the big day comes. They're going to announce the winning number on the news, and 70% of the country is watching. And so they announce it. 3, 4, and 9. And Marilee's husband looks through the bottle caps to see if they have the winning number, 349, and kaboom, they do. Marilee and her family have just won 1,000,000 pesos. And so they're like screaming and dancing around the living room because they're about to be rich. I mean, they can finally create a better life for themselves and for their kids. Until here's the dildo. Pepsi really screwed up because 349 was not supposed to be the winning number. In a contest like this, they only print like 1 or 2 winning bottle caps at the bottle cap factory or wherever. That way you don't end up with thousands of winners. But Pepsi accidentally chose the wrong number, 349. You want to know how many bottle caps were printed with the number 349 on them? Hundreds of thousands. So there are hundreds of thousands of winning bottle caps in circulation. And this is when shit gets crazy. Because about 486,000 people in the Philippines now all think that they've won 1,000,000 pesos. And if Pepsi had to pay all those people out, that would be about 486 billion pesos, or about 19 billion US dollars. Which, in 1992, I don't think Pepsi had $19 billion to give out. But people don't know that. They all think they won. So I guess some people that won live near a Pepsi bottling factory in Quezon City, and they want their money right away. And so a bunch of them show up to the bottling factory like they're about to get paid. And like one woman has like 35 winning bottle caps, so she thinks she's about to win 35 times over. So as this mob starts gathering outside the gates of this factory, a secretary inside the place is looking out the window like, what the fuck? Why are there so many prize winners? And so Pepsi has to call the government to be like, we screwed up. And now the execs at the company have no idea how they're gonna get out of this. And I guess some execs are like, hey, let's just change the winning number. No one will notice. And so they let some local newspapers know the new winning number. And the next morning, the papers are all saying that the real winner is the number 134. And this just makes things infinitely worse. It makes things more confusing, and it pisses off all the other 349 winners because they feel like they got screwed over, and they did. And so even more 349 winners start showing up to the Pepsi factory demanding to be paid. And so Pepsi has to start taking security measures by like locking up the gates, and then they get policemen and military as security guards because these people are now on the edge of getting violent. And so by mid-morning, this crowd keeps getting more and and more rowdy. And some of them are starting to throw rocks at the factory building. And no one is leaving. Even as night falls, people are still there outside waiting, upset that they didn't get their prize money. Meanwhile, Pepsi executives are still panicking. They know a lot of people have this winning 349 number, and they know that they can't pay everyone out. But they have to do something because people are about to riot. So at 3 a.m. that morning, Pepsi comes up with another plan to fix this mess. They estimate that at the very most, there are only a few thousand winning bottle caps. And so they announce that yes, they screwed up, but that they'll give everyone with the winning number 500 pesos as a gesture of goodwill. And a lot of people are like, all right. And so thousands of people start taking them up on this 500 pesos offer, and over the next 2 days, Pepsi pays out over 12.5 million pesos. But then they screw up again. They decide to stop honoring some of the 349 winning bottle caps, saying that some of them just aren't valid. And this pisses people off even more. And by this point, people are in the streets, like protesting. And here you can see their signs that say boycott Pepsi. And here you can see the number 349 on the banner. And if all that isn't crazy enough, this is when another company steps in. Coca-Cola. Apparently, as all of this is going down, an executive at the local office of Coca-Cola is like, well, this is going to be great for Coke. And so he pays one of the lead protesters 10,000 pesos as startup money to help fund the anti-Pepsi protests. And this is when the protests really get out of control. And the protesters start rioting in the streets, demanding their money. People are making Molotov cocktails and homemade bombs, and they're like throwing the Molotov cocktails at the windows of the Pepsi factory. Then they start targeting the delivery trucks, and they like vandalize them. The crowd flips some of them over, and they set some of them on fire. And then someone throws an actual live grenade through a window at the Pepsi factory, and it goes off, unaliving 3 employees who were inside. Like, this is insane. And while all of this is going on, there are also people filing lawsuits against Pepsi. In fact, 22,000 people in the Philippines take legal action against them. So thousands of lawsuits are filed. And some of them band together, and some of them start forming groups. I mean, people are fighting really hard to get paid from this. And so Marilee and her husband, they join one of these groups. And they also start joining rallies and like protests. And so all of these protests and all these legal battles, they go on for about 2 years. And eventually all the anger dies out and the protests, they fade away as Pepsi isn't really gonna budge much. And at the end of it all, Marilee finally gives up. And she just doesn't have the energy for this, and her husband had recently passed away from a heart attack, and so she's left to support her family all by herself, and so she moves on, and sadly, she never sees a single peso from Pepsi. And in 2006, the Philippine Supreme Court ultimately rules that Pepsi is actually not at fault for this and is not liable for damages. And so ultimately, thousands of lawsuits and criminal complaints against them are dismissed. And it's crazy because at the end of it all, 5 people died total from the riots, and Pepsi had to pay a fine of like 150,000 pesos and some relatively small payments to a few plaintiffs, but not much. I mean, they really didn't get into much trouble for this.
Demi mau lu gila